Welcome to Hormones and Handstands with
Pippa Campbell and Victoria Woodhall,
a functional hormone nutritionist and a beauty editor and yoga teacher's guide to acing the challenges of midlife. Hello and welcome back. And this week we are talking gut health 2.0. And Pippa, this is really your area. What is trending in the world of gut health right now? What do we need to know?
Well, the gut-brain connection is huge, and that's like a two-way superhighway, and that involves the vagus nerve, which we will get on to talking about that, but also gut and hormones. We're going to be covering the estrobolone, so that's estrogen and hormones, but so many other hormones are involved as well. So I'm really excited about this episode.
Estrobolome, that's a name to conjure with. So that's I guess, the collection of bacteria in the gut that is influenced by estrogen?
You literally couldn't have said it better. That's perfect.
I have been paying attention to you.
I love it. So yes, we are going to be talking about the estrobolone, but let's talk about gut issues first of all, because
we've all had gut issues, and who doesn't have them now? I mean, can I?
you start.
Can I start? Constipation, long time sufferer of that, and that makes me feel really brain foggy. I feel like I've got head constipation. When I was in my 20s and I was very anxious, I used to wake up with it felt like a ball of tension and anxiety in my gut. And, the gut-brain connection there was so apparent. And, when I fly, when I'm in a new place, I can't go to the loo for days. And lots of women say that. And we are so ruled by our gut. And when I had a cycle, my digestion was very different at different phases of my period. I think it so affects our life, doesn't it? And it's great to get on top of this so that we have a better day, really.
Or get to the bottom of it.
Oh!
So
Boom, boom.
Victoria, do you hold in, that constipation, or do you fart as well?
Private,
We're making this very public now.
I'm sure, yes. I think I looked it up once. The average number of farts a day is something like 13. Do I fart more than that? I don't know. I'll have to ask my children. Probably they do, for sure.
Okay.
Why do you ask?
Do your farts smell?
No, they don't smell.
Interesting. This is a clue, because really smelly farts, consistently really smelly farts, and consistently really, really smelly poo would indicate to me that there's some unwanted bacteria. But to me, it's sounding like for you, it's just coming from the constipation. So we always like these clues.
Yeah. And actually, I've been told that because I drink my tea really hot, I'm gulping down huge amounts of air with my really hot tea. I like it scalding hot. So I think it's just coming out the other end.
Yeah, trapped wind. Okay, so we have gut symptoms. We talked about you getting constipation. Then there's wind, but some women get constipation alternating with diarrhea. They get either, or it can alternate. Stomach pain. You can get bloated, but the weird thing is some women can get bloated. They can feel bloated, but don't look bloated. But when I've been bloated, oh my goodness, do I look bloated. So when I've been bloated, no joke, I look like I'm 6 months pregnant. I am so huge, enormous. But other gut symptoms, we've got acid reflux as well. And then you've got the less obvious ones. So we're talking about the obvious gut symptoms, but then we have things like food sensitivities. And I'm not just talking about, gluten bloats me. I'm talking about women who say, oh my goodness, I just don't understand. I'm reacting to so many foods. I don't get it. For me, that would be, something's going on in the gut. Most likely there's some kind of leaky gut, intestinal permeability. Brain fog, you already touched on brain fog. Brain fog is often a sign of intestinal permeability. So that's a common thing. And food sensitivities as well. And then autoimmune diseases. So many women have autoimmune diseases.
For example?
Hashimoto's is a big one, often linked with H. pylori in the gut. And then women are sort of then going on thyroid medication because then it lowers their thyroid, but their antibodies are still high. They don't understand. So when it comes to Hashimoto's, I always think, well, it's not really a thyroid problem. Well, it is, but it's not truly a thyroid problem. It's an immune problem. And I always want to check the gut. H. pylori definitely linked with Hashimoto's.
And you're talking about sensitivity as well. My kids both get that very itchy mouth in response to certain foods. And then at the other end, because obviously digestion, the gut starts at the mouth, ends in the bum, that kind of what I learnt from you, sort of anus pain,
Yes, bottom pain.
bottom pain. Yes.
Yeah. So bottom pain, now that is a bit of a weird phenomenon, and it's definitely linked with hormonal changes and things as well. And I posted that on social media, and honestly, the amount of DMs I got from women, they didn't, some commented, some didn't, and they sent me private messages and they said, "Thank you so much for highlighting this," because they couldn't talk to their husbands about it, they couldn't talk to their doctors. Some said they did go to their doctor and they were dismissed. It is, we don't really know why this is happening, but it's very common. It's the sharp shooting pain in the bottom. But it can be linked to gut imbalances as well, but also hormonal, and seems to happen more with women. So one of these weird things, but other things as well. So if we're looking at, we talked about autoimmune diseases, but then you've got other symptoms as well. Like, so in perimenopause, for example, out of nowhere, women will suddenly say that they're getting gut issues, or on the reverse, perimenopause symptoms can be worse because of gut symptoms,
Mm.
which we will talk about. So when my perimenopause symptoms were at their worst, so I had heart palpitations, I was waking up a couple of times in the night. So when they were at their worst, that was just after I had COVID and then food poisoning. And it was amazing. As soon as I dealt with it, my gut was better, suddenly my perimenopause symptoms were better. And people don't think about that. But it's, it's really linked with your hormones as well.
Wow. Yeah. And so I think a first port of call is always food, isn't it? Look at alleviating the burden on your gut by eating in the way that you describe your 5 foundations, and maybe seeking help from a professional.
Yeah, north to south. So if you think of, sometimes we do start with the bottom, as I said. If there's severe
Ooh.
constipation, actually, the first thing I want to do is literally just get people's bowels moving. But we start at the north. So thinking about digestion, chewing our food, making sure that we're producing enough stomach acid. And we may add in things like apple cider vinegar, for example. May add in some digestive enzymes, but chew, 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 for example. And how many women are chewing properly? Not enough.
Not me.
Yeah.
No, not
So
me.
it all starts at the top, but also when we're stressed. So I think like simple things. So just before a meal, for example, this is what I do, or I try and remember to do as well. So before I sit down to eat, and I make sure I don't eat on the go. That's one thing I'm really strict on.
Mhm.
I love my meal times. I want to save every bite. So I can't rush around.
It's weird, isn't it? How much we love our food, but yet how much we race through our food and do other things while we're eating. We're not fully in this experience that we all love.
Yeah, I can't, literally can't do that. I have to taste every bite. So hungry for my next meal, and I'm just like so excited for it.
But you're very good. You don't eat between meals. You don't snack, and you allow. There is something called, I can't remember the name of it. It sounds like MMR, but it's not. It's the emptying of the stomach between
Yes, so
meals.
migrating motor complex, MMC. So that's really important. So one of my 5 foundations is no snacking. And during that time when you're not eating, then yes, you're emptying, and it helps with movement, helps with peristalsis, so the movement through the gut. But yeah, I sit down before each meal. I'll do 1 minute of breathing. And actually, especially if I come straight out of a meeting, God, I really have to slow that
Mm.
down. And for me, I just have 2 simple breathings. This is the one I do before I eat. Breathe in for 4, out for 6. So I just double the amount
Yeah,
I breathe in.
yeah.
And then I sit down, and I'm not doing anything else. I'm not switching on the news because that's driving me nuts at the moment. And I just sit and I'm just enjoying my food and eating. So that's one thing. And I'll chew my food as well. So that's something I take time over.
Yeah,
But
I do. I've learned that since I came back from my fasting retreat, because there was no food, and then suddenly there was food, and I really wanted to enjoy it. I put my if it's like a sandwich, and I eat sandwiches very often, but I will put it down between mouthfuls, or put my fork or my spoon down, because so often you've got the next mouthful ready and you shovel that in without having swallowed the first one, and you're kind of swallowing not properly chewed food.
yeah, exactly. So then you wonder after, oh, I'm really bloated. But so many people say that once they slow down their eating, their acid reflux improves, their bloating, improves. But when we come back to the foods and reacting to foods, I'll hear so often women saying, I can't eat this anymore. I can't eat shellfish, or I can't even eat that. And they're reacting to loads of foods. And they say this has happened since perimenopause. So women
Wow.
in their 40s are saying, suddenly I'm reacting to these sort of foods. And some are saying high histamine foods. So what we do know in perimenopause, particularly early to mid perimenopause, when estrogen is really high, because it goes so high. Honestly, it's higher than in puberty. So it's called a second puberty, but it's actually worse than second puberty. And it can go really high and spiking. And then progesterone is declining. So as you've got that estrogen high and spiking, it stimulates histamine. So it stimulates mast cells to produce histamine. So then you've got more histamine. So then you add in histamine foods. It's not necessarily a true histamine intolerance, but you add in some of these high histamine foods. Tomatoes is one. Champagne. Oh, that's awful. Champagne. And then they're reacting to it. And it might be hives, itchy skin, for example. It could be headaches, itchy eyes. And they're reacting to these foods, but it's not the food's fault. So we have to look at, right, well, what can we do to detoxify that estrogen? Estrogen has to go through the liver and the gut. And this is where we'll talk about that estrobolome. We'll come on to that, but so important. So we have to clear that estrogen because it's not the food's fault. Otherwise, literally women are thinking they have to cut all these foods out, or they're on a very strong antihistamine just to deal with the symptoms, but it's not the food's fault. So these histamine issues can be really common. Do you know a really awful symptom that a client came to me with? And she'd spent thousands of pounds on a new mattress, poor thing. And she didn't realize it was hormonal issues until she came to see me. So she was in menopause, not on HRT, and she came to me with crawling, itchy skin. She explained, like, I have bugs biting me. So she said, I feel like I have bugs crawling along my skin and biting me. So she bought a new mattress. She actually thought, she sent her husband to the other room. She thought he'd come back from traveling with some kind of bugs and got them into the bed. Honestly, she was just like, she was going mad. She didn't know what was going on. And then I explained to her, and especially after we did some testing, we saw that she wasn't detoxing her estrogen very well, wasn't methylating it. And I suspected some gut issues as well. So she wasn't clearing her estrogen. And then she wasn't on taking progesterone. Progesterone is actually antihistamine.
Oh, is
So
it?
you have too much estrogen that's stimulating mast cells, and then progesterone is there naturally to balance. So progesterone is naturally antihistamine. So actually what we did for her, we found that just by clearing her estrogen, that really helped. But if it comes back, then we consider then bringing in some progesterone. But it just shows you how these hormonal issues are then triggering, really, it's the gut issues, and the gut issues are triggering the hormonal issues. It's like circling round and round.
Yeah, if you go back to season 1, episode 1, we talk about estrogen and estrogen detox and how you can do that.
Yeah. And honestly, I am so fed up of seeing things like parasite cleanses on social media. Do you
Oh my
see
God.
them?
Yes, yeah. What's
Oh,
that all about? And
honestly,
it
I
makes you
can't
kind of worried that you're kind of crawling with parasites. It makes you parasite paranoid.
parasite paranoid. Parasite cleanses are crazy, and often they're actually on social media and talked about. And these posts are from practitioners that are actually, well, they're not practitioners at all. They shouldn't be talking about this kind of thing. And then suddenly everyone does these parasite cleanses.
What is exactly a parasite cleanse?
Well, it depends what it is on social media. Usually it's involving some extreme herbal concoction that people have to drink, and then the parasite will come out. Do you know what one concoction was that I saw a client had done when she came to see me? Because she's worried that the parasite had come out. I saw a photo of what she thought was the parasite, and it wasn't. So she was on a concoction which was really high fiber. That's all it was. And it was a stringy poo.
Yeah.
So she sent me a photo of a stringy poo and thought it was a parasite, but actually it wasn't a parasite. But it was just a big, fiber concoction. But
What
other
was it, like
things,
a noodle or something?
yeah, yeah. That's what it looked like. But other things, they're going in with big antimicrobial herbs and things. So lots of herbs. It could be oregano, black walnut. So all these herbs that people might not need, and then some quite really strong other herbs, and it could be stripping the gut of all your good gut bacteria. And they're not really qualified, these people who are posing it, to understand, well, the next stage of helping this person go through the sort of repopulate stage to get their good bacteria in. So everyone's doing these faddy things. Apparently parasites are to blame for everything now, and everyone's doing these parasite, cleanses. Although I have to say, I did have a client once, and her son, lovely little boy, 10-year-old boy, who had been in and out of the hospital. They didn't know what to do with him. For 2 years, he'd been waking up in the night with stomach pain. Now, I know that parasites can come awake at night. So it is a real thing for some people. We did a stool test and sure enough, he had a parasite. So I did suspect that because he was complaining. It was always around 9 o'clock in the evening. And actually, that's when they can be more wakeful. Actually, he did. And the great thing is with children, they can respond really quickly. So we
Mm.
actually resolved his symptoms very, very quickly, which was great. But I wouldn't be doing a parasite cleanse unless you know you've tested and you definitely have a parasite.
That's bizarre, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's bonkers. But there's
Yeah.
loads of other things going on. I mean, of course, there's a lot of people who do things like a carnivore diet, for example, and it might be beneficial in some ways, but certainly not for the gut microbiome. Because when we have clients coming to us who do poo tests, so stool tests, and they're on a carnivore diet, we see consistently that they're lacking in diversity. So they're really lacking in quite a few key bacteria, which is really important.
Because they're not having the fiber to feed them, I guess, the
Yeah,
plant food.
exactly. And it's
Yeah.
like keto as well. If keto isn't done properly, then potentially that group of people might be low in fiber as well and then lacking in diversity.
And on the flip side, all of this talk about fiber, now we talked about fiber in a previous episode, everybody's doing fart walks, which is a social media trend I can get on board with because um, it's basically going for a walk after a meal and letting rip a few. And I think it's probably what most of us do anyway, but going for a walk after a meal does help regulate your blood sugar. And actually, it's something I've started doing formally
Ugh,
because I can just feel it gets my bowels moving properly.
but I don't understand it. Like, how do you fart on demand?
You don't. You basically go for a walk and kind of if it comes out, it comes out.
I met someone once and she could fart to the national anthem.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, she could fart on demand. So give her a song and she could fart her way through that song. It was her party trick.
Yeah, very good. I hope she made a lot of money from farting on demand.
Well, I thought that was really interesting. Actually, my father told me something really weird once. Honestly, why is it parents come up with really weird information? And
Mhm.
I honestly think I think this is true. He definitely did not make this up. He said that he read in the newspaper years ago that there was a woman who used to fart and package it up and sell it to people. Like
Oh, I can
it's
believe that.
like they there were obviously some weird people out there that like to smell farts. But what I don't understand is how did she get that fart smell to stay in the box and then send it in the post and it was still there?
I don't know. Maybe it's a forgotten old skill like knitting that we all revive.
I tell you what, I'd do that for
Yeah.
£1,000.
There are worse things you
Anyway,
can do.
on a more serious note, I want to talk about the low FODMAP diet because I think this has got a little bit out of hand. I know that gastroenterologists, and they're brilliant and they do these tests, but they're not nutritionists and they seem to hand it out to lots of people. And on social media as well, everyone's saying, do the low FODMAP diet. And I've seen clients come to me over the years. No joke, one client had done it for 2 years. I don't know how you do that for 2 years. And we did a stool test that completely altered her gut microbiome for the worse. Now, this should only be done short term, and the reason they hand it out.
Yeah. Just remind us what the low FODMAP diet is.
Okay, so it's reducing certain foods that are going to reduce that fermentation in the small intestine. So we've got our good bacteria in the large intestine. It should be there, and it quite often migrates to the small intestine. So the idea is that they think people have small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, SIBO. And a lot of IBS is assumed to be SIBO. So they hand this test out, which is low FODMAPs, which in theory would be good for someone with SIBO. But a lot of people don't have SIBO. And it should also be done very short term, like 6 weeks, while you're working on the underlying issues. So
Mhm.
because it's removing the foods, it's not taking away the problem.
And it removes foods like things like avocado is banned on the low FODMAP, isn't it? So
Yeah.
there's some really nice foods that are deemed to cause irritation. And I know from family members who've been on this, it really is only, as you say, designed to be used short term. While it's like an elimination diet, and then you can gradually add things, I think, and then
Yeah.
see what you're intolerant to, if
Exactly. So
any.
just like an antihistamine diet, an elimination diet. When we say elimination diet, all of these in a way are elimination diet, where you're eliminating certain foods. It could be, so the big ones that people react to are gluten and dairy. Those are the big ones. And actually eggs as well, which is really annoying because eggs are a
Mm.
great form of protein. So especially skin issues, I see eggs, eczema, very linked with eggs. So I would be, the classic one would be removing gluten, dairy, and eggs for 3 to 4 weeks. And then slowly, one by one, like each week, you reintroduce one and see how you react to it. Some people, when they reduce gluten, well, they remove it and they bring it back and they'll go and eat something with gluten and they have to eat it for about 3 to 5 times in 1 week. And they, oh my goodness, I'm just reacting so badly. I've blown up. So clearly it's made me more sensitive to gluten. I said, no, it's just your body telling you, because actually you could be eating these foods for years and it just goes into a fog of you're not sure what food
Naughty.
you're reacting to. You're a bit bloated. You've got a bit of brain fog. You've got a bit of this. And it just goes into this feeling and you're tired. And it's not that you're reacting more. Your body's just telling you. And it's brilliant. I mean, thank you. Thank you, body. Thank you, gut, for telling me. So I
Mm.
think elimination diets are fantastic. You can
Yeah.
do a food intolerance test or a food sensitivity test, which are good. But elimination diet, absolutely brilliant. But if you've got an underlying gut issue, then actually some of these diets and removing foods, as I've said, is not going to solve everything, because you need to deal with the intestinal permeability, or you need to deal with that unwanted bacteria or the candida. Candida is so common.
Mm. Can we also talk about IBS? Because
Mm.
everyone knows somebody who's got IBS or has had it in the past. And it's this kind of generic sort of don't really know what's going on. It could be like a sensitivity that is actually, but you and I could have IBS and I react to avocados, let's say, just because that's what my gut reacts to. It's like a nervous system reaction,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's not necessarily a sort of physical interaction with the food.
That's so true. So IBS is not a diagnosis. It's really a collection of symptoms. So as a practitioner, what my job has always been when a client comes to me with IBS is like, what is it? What is actually really going on? Now, there may be a true gut issue, but IBS is also very linked with a dysregulated autonomic nervous system. So think about the brain. So think about, are you the type of person that runs on adrenaline? Do you feel always a little bit wired? Do you always feel like you're running for a tiger or chasing a tiger? A little bit always on the go, on edge, can't, calm your brain down. And that is the brain gut connection causing IBS. So you could do all the gut things in the world. And I'm not saying there isn't a true gut issue there as well. There may be. We often see that there is something going on. But these people will often have low pancreatic enzymes on testing, because you need a lot of energy and you need to be quite calm in a parasympathetic calm mode to produce stomach acid, digestive enzymes, for bile flow, for good secretory IgA, which is like the guards that line the gut to protect you from unwanted bugs and things. So all of these are quite often low. And when they're all collection together, and I see that in a stool test, I'm always going to ask them about their,
Mm.
when I say stress levels, some people don't think they're stressed. They don't like to say stress.
No, no, because, that stress becomes part of your identity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, but I know that there's now some dietitians are leaning towards sort of mind therapies for IBS, and there's an app called Nerva, Nerva, which is basically hypnotherapy for IBS, and it works if your IBS is related to your state of mind. But my daughter tried it, and she said she had to listen to these recordings, and it was things like, "Your digestion is flowing freely. You are going to do a poo." And she said, "Mum, I couldn't take it seriously." So I think you have to go with the flow of apps like this and just
Yeah, and I don't think, I mean, I'm not sure, certainly the clients that I've worked with and, my history with cancer and certainly with, when I was stressed and had IBS, that probably wouldn't have worked for me, because I wouldn't have wanted to concentrate and think about my poo and my bloating and my candida, etc. So I don't think that would have worked for me. But certainly I know in, over the past, if I'd been from massage or something like that, and then I would come out less bloated. Now, touch wood, I have that all under control, but I am definitely a brain gut sort of connection person. So that would be, everyone has their thing. You said that when you stress, you get constipated. For me, I used to get bloated. So it's a very common stress gut issue. But when I say stress, people don't think necessarily it's stress. It could be just the A-type woman that is really successful. They're running a family, they're working, they're running their home as well. So that is stress. People don't realize that is a type of stress. And I call it the adrenaline dominant woman. And when you're adrenaline dominant, then you're not really in that parasympathetic mode. So Victoria, please give me one tip from like your yoga or breathing or something. What would be one tip for me, anyone listening, if they suffer with this sort of thing? What could they do? Like, even if they're on the go, what do you think they could do?
Okay, so you could, if you are in a place where you can lie down, you can lie on your back with the soles of the feet together, knees apart, and maybe just put your hands on the floor, on the abdomen, and give your digestive system some space. Give your pelvic organs some space to just relax and open. And so I interviewed Deepak Chopra once, and I said to him, can you give me some tips for stimulating the vagus nerves? And he said, the inner smile. So what he said is you have to close your eyes, send a smile to all your different organs. And he was saying, smile to your anus. So you you could smile to your digestive system, your stomach, your pancreas, and just spend a few moments. You could even do that sitting on the tube or whatever. You can't lie down. But the way we sit normally, we sit with crossed legs, we sit hunched. Maybe just thinking about giving your pelvic organs some space. And if you can lie down, soles of feet together, knees apart, slow down your breath, longer out breath than in breath. And that's going to key into your parasympathetic nervous system. Longer term, you can practice some things like yoga nidra. I've got lots on my platform and I teach it. There are also things you can do like wind relieving poses.
Oh,
I mean, yoga teachers, the conversation among yoga teachers is always about farts in yoga. What do you do if you accidentally fart as a teacher or your students let one rip? You just have to kind of style it out. It is normal because certain movements will stimulate, and that's probably a good thing, isn't it? Right. So wind relieving poses in yoga are anything that gets your knee round by your armpit. So you could lie on your back, hug your knee into your armpit, or any kind of lunge like a warrior two, or putting your hand on the floor on the inside of your kind of knee when you're lunging. You will notice a few gurgles happening. And then of course we have some seated twists which get everything moving. Breath of fire, where you pump the abdomen back. That's like fanning your digestive fire. I like to do that in the morning to wake up my digestion. And there's something called nauli, which is like a churning of the abdomen, and you do it in horse stance, so with your feet wide apart, knees and feet turned out. And you draw the navel back. So you're slightly rounding your back. You draw the navel back and you kind of churn the muscles of the abdomen round one way and then the other. And it's like, yeah, exactly. So doing mouth churning. So you can actually use your abdominal muscles to bring more movement into your abdomen as well as give it more space, because we think of like core work as basically hardening the abdomen and crunches, but essentially a lot of women need more softening and perhaps a little bit more movement to stimulate the natural movement of the gut.
that's brilliant. I love that. And do you find when women do movements like that, because obviously 80% of serotonin is made in the gut, so there's definitely a gut mood connection. And do you find that this sort of thing can help with potentially mood as well?
Oh, well,
would you
yoga
say?
can help with mood anyway, because you're just using this calm, steady breathing to calm the mind and silence the inner critic. So we do quite a loud yoga breathing. It's called ujjayi or ocean breath. And the aim is that it's louder than the sound of your thoughts. And it acts like a kind of rocking, shushing sound. So it's very soothing for the mind as well as being calming for the heart, because when you slow down your breath, you slow down your heart rate. So there's lots of different factors in yoga, as well as sorting out the stiffness in your joints, because if you're not moving, your synovial fluid in your joints gets thicker and you end up feeling stiffer. So it's the combination of movement, breathing, of specific movements to move the gut around, and you end with a final relaxation. So it very much is a kind of all systems supporting practice, a bit like, supporting the gut supports every system in your body because it's so linked.
It's like supporting the gut sorts the systems, and sorting the systems also supports the gut, because you just talked, we talked about improving mood. That's why we have a supplement called Mood and Sleep. I have a supplement called Mood and Sleep, and it has 5-HTP in it. Now, people always think, oh, well, that's for, sleep, well, that's for mood, but we also use it for women with constipation where we think serotonin is involved, because 5-HTP is an enzyme. It's a precursor to serotonin. And because serotonin then is made in the gut and it's involved with motility, so helps with bowel movements. So for women with constipation, we often use my Mood and Sleep supplement, but you'd never associate with that, because we might also use my Repopulate probiotic. We might use my gut repair if they've got leaky gut, for example. But then using something that will help support serotonin, like you're saying with the yoga moves as well, then that can help with constipation. This is one of the biggest problems. Now, I do want to just add as well about constipation is often linked with low thyroid. And again, it's this hormones backwards and forwards, but 20% of thyroid conversion from T4 to the active hormone. So that's the one that helps with our hair, helps prevent hair loss, helps with losing weight. So the conversion of T4 to T3, 20% happens in the gut. So 40% in the liver, something like 40%, I think it is 60%, but 20% in the gut. So happy gut, happy hormones. And then there's the connection with insulin sensitivity. We've got certain gut bacteria. Akkermansia is also linked with insulin and weight gain. So there's more and more research coming out. But I think these simple things that you talked about, I love the yoga moves as well. And then let's look at some simple foods, because I love prebiotics. I love probiotic foods, but they don't suit everyone. And certainly women who are struggling with these histamine symptoms or they've got candida, I probably wouldn't go straight in and have a whole load of fermented foods, or they literally will blow up.
So remind us again, which are the prebiotic and which are the probiotic foods?
So the probiotic foods, the fermented foods, that could be things like that. Yogurt, kimchi, sauerkraut, even olives, actually, by the way, is quite a good one. So those are all those fermented type foods. And then we've got the prebiotics. So the prebiotics feed the probiotics. So the prebiotic foods feed our gut bacteria, our good gut bugs. So the prebiotic fibers, we've got all sorts. We've got leeks, asparagus, flax seeds are really good as well. Jerusalem artichokes are a big one, but they are called artichokes a reason. So they're huge. So we have loads of different prebiotic foods, and those are found in lots of vegetables as well. Beans and pulses, where I said, we talked about fiber before and going low and slow, but it's all those different colored vegetables and herbs and spices and things like that. So I would really try and eat the rainbow. I know people have heard that, but I really would eat the rainbow so that we are getting all the different types of fiber that feed the different gut bugs. So those are really important. And then I think if you have got cancer and you're not getting on with those fermented foods, just back off for a bit while you're dealing with the candida. Get the sugar out your diet. You might need some anti-candida herbs. Garlic is something which is in my gut repair. And the reason why I like using that with candida is that it can be taken longer term. And some women are just really prone to candida. Whereas some of the antimicrobials like capric acid, you don't want to stay on, forever. So those foods are talked about a lot, but also things like healthy fats as well. So we definitely want to get in healthy fats. Olive oil, I love.
Yeah. Yeah, and those omegas, walnuts, they're really anti-inflammatory as well, aren't they? And a lot of these gut symptoms are associated with inflammation. A fun fact I learned when I was at my fasting retreat, if you're interested in that, it's the previous episode 3, is that the gut microbiome, it weighs 2.5 kilograms. That's all with all the viruses and the other stuff we've got in there that isn't sort of human flesh. 2.5 kilos.
That's a lot.
Heavier than your brain, which is, I looked at 1.3 kilos on average. So yeah, definitely it's an environment that we really need to support. And when it goes wrong, it can go spectacularly wrong.
Absolutely, and you can turn it around super, super quickly as well. We know women who go and have things like colonics, and they can be amazing, but they're not, of course, getting to the root cause of the problem. But they're just pulling all the crap out, basically. But you need to sort of feed your microbiome after, so it's really important to have a probiotic. But within 48 hours, your gut can be restored. So our gut's also very clever, given the
Mm,
right environment. And we definitely need to support it. I think we need to support it daily. For
yeah.
sure.
And if you're taking a probiotic, lots of women do. I've heard that taking it first thing on an empty stomach and then waiting until you then add any food is better. Is that the case?
Sometimes it depends on the probiotic. I mean, I wouldn't get too caught up with it, but certainly, I mean, sometimes it's better with food. I wouldn't worry about it too much. You just want to make sure that the probiotic you are taking can survive the harsh environment of the stomachs. So a lot of these there are certain ones or liquid ones and things. I think you just need to make sure that it can get through and work in the small intestine, the large intestine, which is why that's why I created a probiotic that did all of those things.
How would you as a consumer know? Do we look for encapsulated? What do we look for?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a capsule, I mean, it's a faff if you're going to have one that you need to keep in the fridge. So my one's sort of stable at room temperature, and you want it just broad spectrum, so it has lots of different species in as well. For women in menopause, there's definitely two species that are really, really depleted, and then that affects everything. And even then, our sort of vaginal microbiome is affected as well. So I think just a broad spectrum is really good. But if stress you think is playing a role and the vagus nerve is a problem, here's one tip I'm going to show you. So a tip to stimulate the vagus nerve, gargling.
Oh, yes. Singing and chanting, because the vagus nerve, what Pippa is gargling, which you can't see if you're listening on audio, and she spat it everywhere. The vagus nerve starts at the brainstem and goes all the way down the back of the neck. So the throat is where it's quite near the surface and in the chest, which is why a long humming out breath, which I do at the end of my every yoga practice, and gargling, singing, chanting, yawning. Yeah, they're all ways of stimulating the vagus nerve. So sing in the shower, hum, yeah, gargle.
I go when I walk the dog. I go.
I can tell that's a solo activity.
It's definitely a solo activity. I couldn't do that around anyone. But yeah, those are nice little tricks to use. You can get devices as well. I do use the NeuroSim, which is on my website.
Yeah.
Pippa loves. That's something I've started to use. It's quite new. And I do quite like that. I can't say exactly, oh, wow, that is definitely helping sort of my gut. I think with all of these things, it's a collection of doing
I think
everything.
so.
It's not always just one thing. But I did want to say before I forget actually that I am launching a gut reset plan. So if anyone's interested in that, it's a 3-month plan.
What does that look like?
We're going through the 5 Rs. So we are going through its functional medicine 5 Rs where we remove. So we're getting rid of the foods at the beginning that could be irritating for you, like gluten and dairy, for example. And then we're supporting digestive enzymes, repopulating. So we're going through all these processes and you finish off with rebalance. So that's why it's 3 months. It can't really be done any shorter. It needs to be done properly. And it's got meal plan as well, lots of different foods. It includes supplements. So the whole shebang. And there's a Facebook group and support and lives, and it should be fun.
Yes, and I hope I'll see some of you on my yoga platform as well for some rest and digest movement.
Well, I think that's super important because, as we've said, that gut-brain connection, and I think a lot of us are just a little bit stressed, even if we don't want to admit it.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, thanks, Pippa. I've learned again so much about the gut and how interconnected it is with everything, but that it's really easy to make changes and that they can happen quite quickly and we can end up feeling better quite quickly.
Absolutely.
And we don't have to put up with these foggy symptoms.
Absolutely. Thanks, Victoria. And I am now going to go away and smile at my anus.
Oh, of course you are.
Bye. Bye. If you enjoyed this episode of Hormones and Handstands, don't forget to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you love this episode, please do leave us a review. You can also find us on Instagram at Hormones and Handstands for behind the scenes content, sneak peeks and to let us know what you want to hear more about. See you for another one next week.